Picture a woman walking home through the gates of a Persian palace. She has no nose, no ears, no breasts, no lips, no tongue. She is alive, and she was sent back this way on purpose, as a message. Now picture 14 children, sons of Persia's noblest families, lowered into the earth and buried alive, as an offering, their lives traded to a god. That woman did nothing wrong. She wasn't the cheater. She wasn't the rival. Everyone knew it, but she got carved apart for it. The one who actually deserved this walked away untouched. By the end of this video, you'll understand why, and it's worse than you're imagining. This is the world Xerxes built, a world where this was Tuesday. He marched it into Greece in the summer of 480 BC, the same campaign that killed Leonidas and the 300 at Thermopylae. History gave that man a monument. The women a few miles away, it buried them. 5 women tried to survive this world 5 different ways: enslaved, married to the king, crowned queen, even commanding his warships. Only one of them beat it. I'll show you which one and what it cost her. And underneath all of it, the real answer to this title. Because the worst thing Xerxes did to the women of Greece wasn't the torture, the blade, or the grave. It was something else, something you'd walk right past, and it erased more women than every horror in this video combined. I'm Zoru. I don't age. I've watched every war humans ever fought. Stay with me to the end, and I'll show you why that woman lost her body, why those children went into the ground, what happened to the remaining women, which one escaped, and the one quiet thing Xerxes did that erased more women than all of it. They've been waiting 25 centuries for someone to listen. Be the one who does. To understand what was coming for these women, you have to understand the man it was coming from. Because Xerxes wasn't a monster from a myth. He was something scarier. He was an heir with something to prove. His grandfather was Cyrus the Great, the man who built the largest empire the world had ever seen. His father was Darius the Great, the man who organized it. And then came Xerxes, King of kings, ruler of dozens of nations. And notice what's missing. Nobody ever called him the Great. He inherited an empire and a grudge. Years earlier, Athens and a small city called Eretria had sent ships to help burn Sardis, a Persian capital. To Xerxes, that wasn't politics, it was cosmic insult. In his religion, the king's sacred duty was to crush chaos wherever it burned. Athens hadn't attacked a city, it had attacked the order of the universe. So he wasn't coming to win, he was coming to make an example. And one story from the march tells you exactly what kind of man was leading it. The richest man in the empire, an old Lydian named Pythias, hosted Xerxes' entire army and offered the king his personal fortune for the war. Then he asked one small favor. He had 5 sons in that army. Could the eldest stay behind to care for him in his old age? Xerxes had the boy cut in half. And he marched his entire army to Greece between the 2 halves of the body. That was how he treated his friends. The women of Greece were his enemies, and his army was so vast the Greeks swore it drank rivers dry as it passed. Every day it crawled closer to their homes, while their fathers, husbands, and sons marched the other way to stop it. The men went to meet the army. The women stayed to meet the empire. Only one of those was survivable. You already know what happened to the men. I made an entire video about it. Link below. The pass at Thermopylae. The 300 Spartans. The last stand. It gets 60 seconds here because it's not today's story. But there is one detail from that battlefield you need. When it was over, Xerxes walked among the dead, found the body of King Leonidas and ordered his head cut off and his corpse nailed to a stake. Even Herodotus, the Greek historian, flinched writing it down because Persians normally honored brave enemies. This was personal. And here's the uncomfortable truth. That was the mercy version. Look at what Leonidas actually got. A clean death. A remembered name. An enemy so furious he made him famous. That mutilated body became a legend, then a monument, then a movie. Rage, in a strange way, is a form of respect. This is how Xerxes treated the men who defied him, with brutality, but brutality that said you mattered. What he did to the women had no rage in it at all, no fury, no fire. His real weapon was something colder, something so ordinary, I guarantee there's a version of it in your home right now. Keep guessing. Every guess will be wrong in the same direction. Too dramatic. The truth is quieter than anything you'll imagine, and it will disturb you more than any battlefield in this video. But first, to understand what was rolling toward the women of Athens, you have to follow the women who had already disappeared, because the Greek women of 480 already knew what capture meant, not from imagination, from precedent. 2 cities had already found out. When Persia crushed Miletus, the men were simply killed. The women and children were taken, dragged across the empire, and dumped at a settlement called Ampe, on the far side of the world they knew. A Greek city's worth of women, transplanted like crops. Then came Eretria, the city that helped Athens burn Sardis. Persia came for it by name. The city held for 6 days. On the 7th, 2 of its own leading citizens opened the gates. The temples burned, and the entire population, the women, the children, the grandmothers, began to walk. Stay on that walk, because the textbooks compress it into one sentence. From the Aegean coast to a village near Susa is close to 1,000 miles. Get in a car, drive 8 hours a day. It takes you 2 full days. They walked it, most of them barefoot within weeks after their sandals fell apart. And the march itself was a filter, built so only the durable arrived. Mothers separated from daughters deliberately because a broken family marches quieter. No one painted this march. No monument marks it. Empires don't commemorate their cargo. Now, you'd assume the story of Eretria's women ends there, worked to death somewhere in Mesopotamia, gone within a generation, like dust. That's not what happened. Almost 50 years later, Herodotus traveled to that village near Susa, and he found them, still there, still alive, their children and grandchildren still speaking Greek. Persia hadn't destroyed Eretria. It had potted it, like a plant, in the heart of the empire. A living trophy on the king's shelf, grandchildren born subjects of a king they'd never met, with a homeland that existed only as a bedtime story. The Spartan men at Thermopylae were dead in an afternoon. The women of Eretria died for 40 years, one ration at a time. If you've made this far in this chapter of history, please subscribe the channel and let me know from what country and city you're watching from. But Eretria was the old method. By the time Xerxes turned toward Athens, the empire had upgraded. It didn't need marches anymore. It didn't even need chains. It had built the quiet thing, the thing in your house. Now, September 480, the army is closing on Athens, and on its way, it passes through a region called Phocis. Herodotus wrote down what happened to the women caught in its path, and I'm going to give it to you the way he gives it. One sentence, no detail. Some of the captured women did not survive the number of soldiers. That is what the army's shadow meant. And Athens was next. So Athens made the most desperate decision in its history: abandon the city. Every woman, every child, onto boats to the island of Salamis and beyond. Imagine holding your kids on a packed deck, watching your home shrink behind you. Not everyone left. A few hundred holdouts barricaded the Acropolis, among them temple priestesses, women who had served the goddess their entire lives. The Persians stormed the rock and killed them at the altars. Then they burned the temples. And from Salamis, across the water, the women of Athens watched the smoke column rise. They saw their world end in real time. So the women captured in that invasion. What was waiting for them? A dungeon? More of Phocis? Archaeologists digging at Persepolis found the records of what happened to people like them. And the records are not torture chambers, not dungeons, not mass graves. They are clay tablets, tens of thousands of them, accounting documents. That's the thing I told you about, the thing in your home. The weapon Xerxes used on the women of Greece was a spreadsheet. There's a word stamped across those tablets, over and over, kurta. Workers, human beings, logged like grain, sorted by ethnicity, sorted by trade. Issued rations, so much barley, so much wine, a little extra if you'd just given birth, slightly more if the baby was a boy. Greek women appear in those tablets, Ionian women, 1,000 miles from home, weaving and grinding inside the most beautiful palace on earth, but never by name, just one Ionian woman, a number in a column. And sit with one of those entries for a second. Extra rations for a new mother, a captured woman giving birth inside the empire's machine. The tablet doesn't say who the father was. The tablet doesn't care. It just adjusts the barley. And then, the part that kept me up at night, for the women taken from the Greek mainland, the records go silent. We can't find them. We can't trace where they ended up. And that is the most horrifying thing in this entire video. Not that the empire killed them, that the empire filed them so efficiently we lost the file. The perfect erasure isn't death, it's a missing page, but not every woman vanished into the ledger. A few were pulled out of it, towards something that looked like a reward. It was a snake pit with perfume in it. The palace. The place where, if you were a woman swept up by this empire, you had supposedly won the lottery. Let's use the accurate word for what this place was, because harem sounds like a fantasy. It was sexual slavery, organized as a government department. Women collected from every province, the way provinces sent gold and horses as tribute. The Book of Esther, a story set in this exact court, under a king most scholars believe is Xerxes himself, describes the machinery. 12 months of preparation for a single night with the king, and if he wasn't impressed, you were moved to the second house, the house of the forgotten, where you stayed for life, never summoned again, unless he happened to remember your name. Run the math. One night. Hundreds of women, the house of the forgotten for nearly all of them, and these were the winners, the women who escaped the ledger, fed, perfumed, draped in linen, and owned down to the hour. A better cage is still a cage, and the men guarding every door of that cage, the empire had broken them too. Let me tell you about one of them. His story explains this entire world. His name was Hermotimus, Xerxes' most trusted eunuch. As a boy, he was captured and sold to a slave dealer named Panionius, a man with a simple, profitable business. He castrated boys and sold them to the Persian court. Hermotimus survived it, rose through the palace, became the most powerful eunuch in the empire. Then, years later, he found Panionius, living comfortably on the coast, still in the trade. And Hermotimus smiled, befriended him, invited the whole family to stay as his honored guests. Then he locked the doors, and he gave Panionius a choice that wasn't one: do to your own 4 sons what you did to me, or die, all of you. The father did it, and when he was finished, Hermodamus made the sons do the same to their father. Herodotus calls it the greatest revenge he ever recorded. I call it the truth about this palace, a cage for women, guarded by men the empire had also mutilated, all of it feeding one throne. And the most dangerous creature inside that cage was not the king. It was his wife, the one woman he could never send to the house of the forgotten. Her name was Amestris. And what she did with a single birthday wish is the darkest thing in this entire video. It begins, like most disasters, with the king getting bored. Xerxes comes home from Greece humiliated. His fleet is wrecked, his invasion has failed, and back in the capital, he develops an obsession. His own brother's wife. The wife of Priestesses. He pursues her. She refuses. He pursues again. She refuses again, quietly, carefully, the way you refuse a man who can have you killed with a sentence. Here's the strange part. Xerxes doesn't force her. He schemes. He marries his own son to her daughter, a girl named Artemisia, thinking it will pull the mother closer. It works, just not how he planned, because once Artemisia is inside the palace, Xerxes forgets the mother entirely and falls for the daughter, his son's new wife, his own niece, and unlike her mother, she says yes. Drunk on the affair, Xerxes makes the oldest mistake in the book. He tells her, "Ask me for anything. Anything you want, it's yours. I swear it." She asks for his robe, not just any robe, the magnificent one he's wearing, the one Queen Amestris wove for him with her own hands. Xerxes goes pale. He offers her cities, gold beyond counting, an army of her own, anything but the robe. She insists. He swore an oath. He hands it over, and Artemisia wears it in public. Amestris sees the robe, and this is the detail that makes her terrifying. She doesn't scream. She doesn't confront anyone. She waits, because she knows the court's one unbreakable rule: once a year, at the king's birthday feast. Whatever is asked of him, the king cannot refuse. The feast comes. Amestris approaches the throne, and she does not ask for the girl who wore her robe. She asks for the girl's mother. The innocent one, the woman who refused Xerxes from the very beginning. Sit in that confusion. For 25 centuries, everyone hearing this story has had the same reaction. Why her? Let me tell you why. In Amestris's eyes, the mother was the root, the first woman the king ever wanted who wasn't her. The daughter was just the symptom. And colder still, the daughter was royal family now. Protected, the mother was reachable. Let me also tell you what Amestris's guards did to that woman. They cut off her breasts and threw them to the dogs. Then her nose, her ears, her lips, her tongue. I storyboarded this scene. It's the one set of images from this video you will never see. Not because the platform would punish me, because you don't need to see it to feel it. When the guards were finished, the woman was sent home to her husband, alive, turned into a living message. And that was the cruelty. Priestesses fled with his sons toward Bactria to raise a rebellion. The king's soldiers caught them on the road and killed them all. One wandering eye and an entire branch of the royal family deleted. And Amestris wasn't finished with the world. Decades later, as an old woman feeling death approach, she had 14 sons of Persia's noblest families buried alive, a gift to the god of the underworld, their lives traded for hers. 14 children, buried alive by a queen, All of this comes from one Greek source, and Greeks loved monstrous Persian queens, but even as a nightmare, it tells you how that court was feared. Amestris was the most powerful woman alive, and when she went to war, the only weapon the system handed her was another woman's body. The cage went all the way to the top, which leaves one question. The captured women were erased. The palace women were trapped. Was there any woman in this entire story who beat the system? There was one. Exactly one. Her name was Artemisia, queen of Halicarnassus, a Greek city under Persian rule. When Xerxes summoned his empire to war, she didn't send a son or a general. She came herself, commanding her own warships, the only woman holding command in a navy of hundreds of ships. And she was better at it than the men. Before Salamis, Xerxes polled his commanders, attack the Greek fleet in the strait? Every admiral said yes. One voice said no. Artemisia told him, to his face, the strait is a trap. The battle is unnecessary. The Greeks will tear themselves apart if you simply wait. The men overruled her. Xerxes attacked. And from a throne set up on the shore, he watched his fleet get shredded in the narrow water, exactly the way she said it would. In the chaos of the rout, with an Athenian warship hunting her down, Artemisia did something so ruthless it saved her life. She rammed and sank a ship from her own side. The Athenians decided no Persian ally would ever do that. She must be one of theirs, and broke off the chase. And Xerxes, watching from the shore, thought she'd destroyed an enemy. He turned to his advisors and said, "My men have become women, and my women became men." Afterward, the story goes, he sent Artemisia a gift, a complete suit of Greek armor, and to the commander of his fleet, the man, he sent a spindle and a distaff, a sewing kit. That insult is the entire worldview in one package. To honor a woman, you call her a man. To destroy a man, you call him a woman. Artemisia won. She's the exception. But look at the price of the ticket. She had to be more ruthless, more brilliant, more manly than every man in the room just to be allowed in the room. That's not victory. That's the cost of admission. And almost no woman alive could pay it. The war was ending now. The men were about to get their songs. Come home with the women and see what they got. The fleet was smashed at Salamis. A year later, the army was broken at Plataea. Persia went home. Greece had won, and the men got everything that comes with winning. The victory songs, the monuments. The women came home to ash. The Acropolis wasn't a sanctuary anymore. It was a graveyard. What the Athenians did next is the most quietly devastating image of the war. They gathered up the broken statues, the marble maidens with their faces hacked away, the famous boy whose head had been severed from his shoulders, and they buried them in pits, in sacred ground. They held funerals for statues, because the statues had been violated, and that was the only language anyone had left for it. When they rebuilt the Acropolis wall, they deliberately set the scorched column drums of the burned temple into the wall, facing the city where everyone could see, a scar left open on purpose, so no Athenian could ever look up without remembering. Here's what I've come to believe after living this story. We tell war as a story of men, the charge, the last stand, the glorious death. And men do die in war, but they die once, loudly, and they get a monument. The women in this video didn't get a battle. They got the 40 years after it, the torture, the march, the ledger, the cage, the silence. War doesn't end for women when the fighting stops. For them, that's when it begins. At the start of this video, I told you that whatever you were imagining was wrong, that the truth was worse in a way nobody warns you about. Now you know why. The horrors you pictured? They happened. The march happened, Phocis happened, the blade and the dogs happened, but those were only what the empire did with its hands. The real crime was what it did with its records. Xerxes didn't just brutalize the women of Greece, he also erased them. Names into numbers, people into inventory, lives into a missing page, wounds heal, chains break, fires go out, a missing page stays missing forever. Herodotus tells us he learned the name of every single one of the 300 Spartans. Every one, because, he said, they deserved it. 300 names kept safe for 25 centuries. From the women in this video, we have none, but you just spent 20 minutes with them. Their names are gone. Their story isn't. And maybe that, remembering the ones an empire filed away, is the only victory an empire can never take back. If she stayed with you, leave a comment with where in the world you're watching from. Say it for the women who never got their names written down. Subscribe for the next one. And the full story of the men, Leonidas, and the 300 is right here